Welcome to episode 284 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. This is going to be the best episode ever. We have special guest Vansilli, Esports legend, on the show. I throw around Esports legend a lot. This one I'm not over-exaggerating, not overselling. He has been around for a very long time, one of the pioneers of this whole thing we call esports. Vansilli joins us, talks some CSGO, his career, and Valorant and everything else in between. We also have our monthly Ask Us Anything to get to, as well as e-news to end the show. But let's tell you about the show sponsor in Alt Esports. Check them out, ultesports.com. They are the industry's leading apparel company. The comfiest clothes money can buy. They just released the Dallas Empire capsule, including the World Champs t-shirt. Incredible design, incredible feel. I actually wore it the other day. And I was happy to report that I think I've had maybe 2 women look at me. So it will increase the attention from the opposite sex. About to release their new Reset apparel line coming soon. Also check them out on Instagram. Every Friday they do a live stream. They send out a fat discount code. Right now they are having a end of the season sale for all Overwatch and Call of Duty gear. Check them out on Twitter. They will have the code there, but you can get 40% off. Damn. Wowza. Go there. Check it out. altesports.com. Tell them the Center Ring sent you.
Hi, my name's Drone. I play Valorant for TSM, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. Episode 284 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The time, 9:41 p.m. The date, October 29th, 2020. Just a couple days before Halloween. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. And in the description, you will find our Discord. Be a part of the conversation there. All the cool kids are doing it. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, he's my best friend, my brown friend. He's Pasha's best friend, apparently, too. It's Anuj. What's up?
You just got me thinking of how comfy that Dallas Empire shirt is that I haven't received yet, and you just reminded me.
Oh.
So I'm thinking of my text to Nate on how I should word this politely, that it needs to be overnighted now. You can't be the only one feeling the comfort of signed NV gear, and I'm sitting here scrubbing it out in Pasha's clothes.
I can wear it to your house, and you can hold me.
Actually, that would... We cancel it. I'm not even gonna do the text anymore.
Watch a scary movie and hold me. Feel the comfort of Alt. It's chemistry. It's a show. It's for the show.
Wear your tie-dye shirt also, so I can get a little bit of both.
It's actually a comfy shirt too. It is awkward, and this is not to gloat. I guess this is anything in life, right? When someone says they're going to send you something. And it's free, right? Like they don't have to send it to you. They offered it. You didn't even ask. But then it doesn't come. And you're like, hey, I just wondering for the shipping. We're out of the house a lot. I just need to know. So I'm here. I don't want it sitting at the front door or in the office, at the apartment. Do you know when you're going to send me the free stuff that you said you'd send me? I want free stuff, please.
It's like there's no easy way to word that. Right?
No, it's always
There's really not.
It's always weird.
Hey, just want to confirm my address real fast.
Yeah, did I give you a 2? It meant to be a 4. I often get those mixed them up. Sorry. Can you just send me more free stuff? I never got it. Can you just send me more free stuff?
Look, I just like my alt gear so much, Tim. I don't want to feel like I'm missing out. Okay.
And you are missing out. You are missing out. Do you have your Halloween costume picked out at least?
We don't have any costumes. We are getting a costume for Hudson, a hedgehog. Her friend has one from last year. We're not doing Halloween this year, unfortunately, for a couple reasons. One, going over to the in-laws, so we're not going to really be at the house when primetime Thanksgiving or Halloween kids come over. Other than that, like also with COVID going on and a newborn in the house, I'm trying to limit my exposure with people as much as possible. And opening the doors to a bunch of potential carriers doesn't seem like the smartest thing for us right now. If we didn't have Hudson, no big deal. We love Halloween. We give out candy every year. So we're going to do the nice thing. We're just going to at least put a bowl outside and we'll just keep refilling it as the night goes on when we get back home. But
as one kid just takes the whole thing.
And, you know, we talked about it and I was like, you know what? If he does it, he does it. Like, good for him. He's got a bag full of candy. He can call it a night early. As long as someone's getting enjoyment out of the candy we put at the front door.
There's that one video online where it was like an adult stealing all the candy. And so that's why I'm anti that, because I would be that guy who would sit in the house watching like my front door camera. And if an adult did that, I would chase him down halfway down the block.
You know, it'll be some teenager probably come in and load up his bag. Like I already expect it to happen, but we'll put enough out there and hopefully the kids around here are good. We'll see.
I love Halloween. Halloween's my favorite holiday. However, I don't
like favorite out of all of the holidays is Halloween.
I
like
think
Christmas, Thanksgiving.
I think so. I go back and forth because it's the first, like at least here in Texas, it's like you change the clocks, right? It's always right around when you change the clocks. So it's going to be darker earlier. We gain a night or we gain an hour. It starts cooling down. Like it is like the first turnover to fall. And then you get candy. And I like the Halloween aesthetics. You know, I like Halloween movies. Even though I hate scary movies, I like Halloween movies, if that makes sense.
Like Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, Nightmare Before Christmas. I just like that stuff. So, pumpkins, I like it. That being said, though, I don't do Halloween. Like, I think the last time I legit dressed up was like when I was probably 10 years old.
So you like the time frame of Halloween. It doesn't sound like you're a huge Halloween
No, because I like decorating. I like handing out candy. I don't like the whole get up and then you gotta go to a party. I think what it was is when you were dating, Halloween sucked because it completely ruins the spirit of Halloween. It's like your girlfriend's like, no, we need to wear magic costumes. You need to be Aladdin. I want to be Jasmine. And you're like, I just want to stay home. I just want to stay home. Please. But, you know, now we have a 1-year-old. This time last year, I don't want to start the show on a bummer, though. This time last year, Anuj, we were at BlizzCon.
Were we not here for Halloween last year?
No, we weren't. It was my son's first Halloween, and you and I, spent it at Disneyland. Father of the year.
That was probably the best Halloween I've had.
Father of the year, right?
If that was the case, that was a damn good trip. I don't even regret that.
No, not at all. Yeah, it was on Halloween. You and I went to Disneyland because we were there at BlizzCon the day early, and we were like, well,
that's right, because it was a Halloween themed Disneyland. I forgot about that. Yeah, That's right. That's right.
And it was like dead for a while. Like we got on almost.
Doesn't it feel like 10 years ago?
It truly does. The fact that it was Halloween last year when we were at BlizzCon at Disneyland celebrating my son's first Halloween with you and I, as my wife, still recovering from birth, was here by herself. It seems a long time ago.
I was 10 gummy bears deep walking around Disneyland at this time.
Yes, we survived the pot shop. We survived walking around Anaheim trying to figure out where we're going.
Lord, yeah, that does not feel like a year ago, man. That really does feel like a long time ago.
Yeah. No. When COVID's done, don't take it for granted, folks. I will never complain. Now, don't mark my words on this one, because me not complaining is like a fish not swimming. It's just not going to happen. But when we're at a LAN and it's like 7 hours in and we're like, Jesus, just let this end so we can do some interviews, I don't ever want to complain.
I will
complain, but I will then just someone remind me, hey, do you remember Corona when we didn't have LANs to do interviews and have fun and meet people? I'll be like, damn, you're right. No complaining. Positive vibes only.
The next Pro League best of 5 finals you and I are at the whole time, you'll hear from me.
As we fall asleep on the couches at the Esports Arena in Arlington.
With an All-Star match after map 2, just to shove it in our face a little bit.
Shout out Esports Arena in Arlington as we've fallen asleep on your couches many times waiting for games to finish. But hey, we're old.
We're so old. We're old.
We're old. What can you say? It's like, it's a little loud in here. Do you want to just go sit outside on the couch and catch some Z's real quick? Oh, we're old. All right. Speaking of old, we had another fellow esports boomer join us on the show, Vansilli. He has been around the industry for a very, very long time, as we discuss in the interview. So without further ado, let's throw it over to our next guest. Our next guest on the Center Ring Esports podcast has been involved with the scene for a very long time, before it was even called esports, believe it or not. Please welcome to the show, Vansilli. How's it going, man?
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me. It's going great. Insomnia kicked in for like the past 2 days, so I'm like a little bit groggy here and there, but still super excited to be part of the show. Thank you so much for having me.
You've been busy.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I was about to say, I mean, you've been pretty busy. It's okay to be a little tired.
Yeah, for sure. I think as we're going to talk about it, I'm assuming very soon is Valorant's been keeping myself busy, not only just trying to follow the scene, but just trying to rank up as well, because I feel like to this day, even though I've been in the scene for such a long time for esports, you still have to prove yourself to the community. So I don't want people to go like, oh, shit caster, kick W, what a bad caster, you know? So I need to bring myself up to that diamond platform at least, and then hopefully hit Immortal at some point.
Yeah, it's cool that you mentioned that. I do want to actually touch on that for a second. So you've been casting for a long time, right? Like, let's say on and off since what, 2003 time frame? Yeah,
2003 was my first ever event. I started really dipping my toes into it in 2002 with Quake 3 Urban Terror. So we're going way back at that point.
You know, so Tim and I both played Quake 3.
Nice.
I don't know what Urban Terror is.
Okay.
What is Urban Terror? Because I heard you mention this in another interview that you had done.
Yeah, so it could actually it was the mod for Quake 3 that actually helped me transition over to like Counter-Strike and Call of Duty 1 when those came out, because Urban Terror was kind of like a similar version of Action Quake, if you guys play Quake 2 for Action Quake. But if not, you could compare Counter-Strike with some bunny hopping, including stamina and sliding. So it was a lot of you had to buy weapons. So they were actually you had to choose weapons instead of buying. So you're allowed to choose, for example, let's say you go an M4 and each one of them had little perks. And if you chose certain perks, then it would nullify you getting certain type of equipment. So you could bandage your teammates by just holding caps lock, and then they're able to go like halfway. But the damage in terms of like getting shot in the leg or in the body or in the head has that type of damage. So it has that type of hitboxes. So you really have to be good in terms of like aiming for the head to make sure that you kill faster. But the same style is still very Counter-Strike-y, where it's like a 5 versus 5 or a 6 versus 6. But you bunny hop across the map and plant bombs on 2 different sites. And of course, the opponents have to defuse, or you have just a regular team survivor. So it's just like within a timer, you have to kill everybody at a certain point. The main one was Team Survivor I played.
Coming from that arena shooter world, any interest in Diabolical?
I've been playing Diabolical when like the first beta came out. I love it. I'm really not good at it actually. I'm good with the what they call the rocket launcher. I forgot what they have different terms of course. But the one that's like the railgun, holy crap, man! I'm not good with the rail anymore. Like when I played Quake 2 and Quake 3, I was all about rails. But now I just can't hit anything. I think I got that boomerang that finally hit me. But
I was about to say, is that the boomer effect?
Oh yeah, 100%. But I still love watching Fatality play. I still love watching Lex play and DDK play as well. And of course, they're scrimming a lot, and you see a couple of local tournaments or smaller tournaments with like a Dahang and all them playing him too.
Yeah.
So just to be able to see like Arena FPS be Arena FPS instead of being like Quake Champions, what they tried to do, I'm just happy to see a different style, or that style come back with Diabolical to what quote unquote the roots used to be for Quake.
Do you think the arena shooter will ever come back in a big way?
With Diabolical, I think it will. To be honest, like because when you used to watch, for example, Painkiller or Quake 3 CPMA, it was all about how fast people were moving around the map and how good they were in terms of aiming, but also predicting where your opponent's going to be, because you have to control the rail, you have to control the rocket, you have to control the items. There's so much mental timing that goes into playing arena FPS that people don't really understand the whole concept around how good you have to be top notch in arena FPS. But as a simple spectator, it's so much easier to follow, because now you know it's a 1 versus 1. You know who you're following when you're actually looking at the screen, and you know basically the concept of he needs to pick up weapons, he needs to kill the other guy. You look at the HP, you look at when they're going to pick up armor, and then you know that there's going to be like the whole timer kind of thing. What I like about Diabolical in the dual range and what they added is the I think it's called the golden kill or what it is. The last kill.
Yeah, the golden egg, or they have some funny,
right? Yeah. So like you have to basically within that 10-minute timer, if you're actually destroying the guy, that timer goes down a little bit faster, and then once it gets to that timer, the one that's in the lead still has to do one more kill to secure the win. So there's still a chance for the second person to make a comeback into the game and hopefully win in like a sudden death overtime or something, which is great, because back then, again, when you're looking at Quake 3 and you're looking at Painkiller, it's like if the guy's in the lead by 5 and there's 2 minutes left, he's just hiding for the rest of the map, and then he's just going to win by time.
Well,
so
we
I
also
do like
saw
that concept.
Even with Quake Champions, just with this last QuakeCon championship, like the forget the guys who were in the finals, but like the guy was up by like 8 kills, and it was like it didn't matter at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's super boring. So I think that adds a nice concept and a good little change to arena FPS, where I think it could actually get pretty big. I mean, you have some big names that are still supporting it and behind it. Like I said, like DDK's in there, and I'm DJ Wheatlow's playing it. Semler plays it from time to time, and it has like it. I mean, it's produced by Too Good Studios, and Too Good has been very, very, very much involved with esports in his days and in his career as well. So I think they have the right people to try to push this into the next level.
So let me tell you this then. What if I throw it back at you, Vansilli, and say all the reasons that you said it was great is why I say it might hurt in the esports long term, because kids these days, they don't know like us boomers, where you actually had to work at something. We didn't just have BRs to make ourselves feel good.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like an FGC game where you can tell right away that you suck at it. And, you know, I think that's an issue with arena shooters, where if I go on a 1v1, I'm going to play someone like DDK who's never stopped playing arena shooters. And then I'm going to get destroyed, learn very quickly that, you know, this isn't the game for me, or maybe it will turn me off from it, and then I'll just go mindlessly play another BR game.
So the way I would answer that is it's still people who enjoy the game, even though they get smacked, will still enjoy the intricacies of how difficult it is to become pro. So, for example, look at us plebs that are old, and you guys have kids. I'm looking to have kids when my wife is going to be able to come here from Vietnam with COVID. Well, not with COVID, but once COVID is done, you know what I mean. But then again, we're like a platinum, gold, whatever rank we are in Valorant. People who are playing in the FGC for Mortal Kombat 11 or for playing Brawl or Smash or whatever, they're not that great at the top level. Even look at StarCraft. StarCraft since 1999 to where we are today in 2020. Rip that it doesn't have the support anymore from Blizzard, but that's a different story. But due to the fact that you have like Idra and like Huck of them back then, and nobody's going to be able to be at that level, but people still very much enjoy seeing a high level play of StarCraft. So people very much enjoy high level Counter-Strike, Valorant, Arena FPS, the same kind of thing. So even though they're going to get smacked, you're still going to have the elites that is going to be able to make it very entertaining to watch.
Now, I want to kind of transition us to a CS conversation here, because this has been a hot topic on our show recently. You know, with CS this year has been a little rough for Counter-Strike, just honestly speaking, right? Like, as much as I love Counter-Strike, I'll be the first to tell you this hasn't been our brightest year, right? I mean, obviously COVID has taken a stain and hit everybody. So that's, you know, outside of that, we have the coaching cheating bans going on right now. We have the MDL under investigation for match fixing. There's a stream sniping investigation that they mentioned that's taking place right now. And we're losing some of the long-time legendary names in this scene, right? With MIBR breaking up, we lost VP pretty much last year. So it's kind of this new group of legends, and obviously Astral is just sitting on top of the throne right now.
Yeah.
So I want to get your take, to get around to my long-winded question here. I want to get your take on the state of CS. Where do you see Counter-Strike now? And where do you see it maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years from now when we start to kind of push the limits of an iteration for Counter-Strike, right? Because Counter-Strike's not one game from 1999. It's like 5 or 6 games, right?
Yeah,
want to get your take on kind of the state of CS and somebody that's a longtime follower. What do you think about the scene right now?
Yeah, I think definitely the biggest one for me, to be honest, like as much as we talk about what's going on with the MDL match fixing or the glitches with the observer bugs with the ESIC and stuff like that too, when we're getting some bans, I don't think that is such a big thorn to the side of the Counter-Strike scene or the Counter-Strike community. I think in general it's even better because we've already had. Let's talk about match fixing first. We've already had a clear example of what happened with match fixers back in the iBuyPower days, and they are banned from all majors and everything too. And then you see that now, like in let's say super pro level top tier 1, it doesn't happen anymore. And the reason why MDL we see a lot of match fixing and stuff like that too, or there's a couple of players under investigation, is due to the fact that these players cannot grow into a scene that they could actually be a pro and play in a tier 1 scene anymore. And also the fact that I guess since last year, when you start to see like ESL Pro League or even Flashpoint trying to build their own leagues and sanction like organizations to buy into the league, then it doesn't give an opportunity for like a tier 2 event or tier 2 team like Triumph or like Mythic or something like that to give their moment of stardom if they're able to upset any of the top teams, because they don't really have those opportunities anymore. So I think now that you're stuck into like this second tier bubble of not being able to grow out of that unless you're like poached by one of the tier 1 organizations to actually go pro, then you have to find means and ways to like still justify your salary or your pro or wanting to continue to compete in Counter-Strike or just in general in esports. I think, right? If you don't have support for that tier 2, tier 3 area, people are going to start doing shady things, and it kind of slipped under the radar for the longest time until now finally people are investigating about it now too for match fixing. So it's like, look, how come you guys haven't learned your lesson from iBuyPower and you're still going to continue this into the tier 2 scene with MDL? And I think with this though, if it's going to be very serious allegations and sanctions, I think it's just going to help maybe for the future generations that are going to get into the game. In terms of the coaching, I think it's very similar in terms of the consequences. Hopefully that they're going to be a little bit major than what we see. Like even some of the coaches that got banned now, they're still getting picked up by organizations, which is kind of iffy. It's not the right example you want to kind of give.
Forza, he's talking to you, Forza.
Exactly. so it comes down to there's still a role that not only Valve has to do to help the community, because they don't help that much, period. Mm-hmm. But with the little that they do, we still have to do a part on our end too, as organizations, as players, as fans, and we're not doing it right now. So maybe that's why it has such like a dark shadow over that overcasts what CS is all about. But I don't think it's going to be a game that's going to die or disappear. Like, I mean, you look at what's going on in terms of the debates on Twitter so far. It's like, guys, you guys don't like the game? Then fuck off. Sorry, I hope I could swear. But
no,
you guys don't like the game? Please get out of our scene, get out of our community. The people that are staying are super passionate about this community as well, and we will continue without you. You don't want to be a part of this? Get out. And I think whenever it comes down to CS:GO is going to reach sort of its limit, I think there's still going to be another version of Counter-Strike anyways. Yeah. And that's going to bring like so many players back as well. I mean, Valorant was one of the biggest examples, in my opinion, where a lot of the players that are the boomers that are our age that used to play Counter-Strike 1.6 back in 2003 are finding something new and refreshing into Valorant. So if you're finding something new and refreshing into CS, they're going to come back and try it anyways, because we will always love Counter-Strike and always will at least want to try it out. And as you already have, like organizations and tournaments that are big names, and I'm pretty sure they're still making good money out of it in terms of tier 1 competition and spectatorship, then they're going to continue on with the evolution of the new game. And sorry, just to tag on to one more thing, and I think the other one that I wanted to touch base was the COVID stuff too. So COVID definitely makes it hard for even North American organizations right now to have some sort of a fan base or get known or something like that too. I mean, the competition, they have to move and to a different country, which means to some of the players, it's a tough situation where they want to be. Like, should they go or not? We've seen the example with Obo with Complexity, but most of the teams now that are going into Europe to play, at least at that point, you still have that sort of bubble of competition that's still going to show some very high level competition where you still have representation of North America, and I think COVID at the same time does help in terms of our spectatorship of the events, because now people don't have to travel as much. I think you're able to do a lot more circuits, a lot longer circuits if you plan to, and I think for the players it's fun for them too, because they're able to stay on top of their game. In the end, though, I think for sure everybody's looking forward for the LAN scene, so we just want to make sure that we stay patient and go through this whole forecast of negativity that CSGO is going through right now. I think as soon as the COVID clears up, I think it clears up everything from like all the negativity that we see in social media and stuff like that as well. I think we're all going to be fucking happy, and esports going to continue to blow up.
We just need to laugh at NA again. That's really what it is. Like,
pretty much. I mean, look at it now. I mean, if you're looking at NA in CS:GO, it's like Furious fucking beating everybody right now, and it's like, how the hell do we beat Furia? We have no more NA teams that could beat Furia, so you're still laughing at NA. They can't even do well in NA anymore. So like, we're trying. I think ever since Cloud9 kind of like won that major, the Atlanta major, it like. We
that was the peak of the roller coaster, right?
Exactly.
And it's kind of just shot down since then.
And then you had like Liquid that was like, and then like then EG.
Liquid was the second bump in that roller coaster, right? It doesn't get to the same peak.
Yeah,
but they were like ascending. Also.
Exactly. Then you got EG, that's like the end of the roller coaster, so you're still hitting some sort of bump. It still tickles, but you're not giggling as much. As
you're catching them on the turn, right?
Exactly.
It's tough. I think NACS is the worry, right? I don't think Counter-Strike should be worried at all. Counter-Strike in its purest form is the same game it was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
not, you're right, it's not going anywhere. In match fixing, you bring up IBP, it's happening in MDL for the same reason that it happened with IBP. Is money in tier 1 CS is nowhere near what it is today as it was when those guys chose to make the decision that they made. They both did it for money at the end of the day, right? Whether it's skins or betting, whatever, the motive was the same. I do have bigger long-term concerns for NA Counter-Strike, though. I think EU, CIS, those are great regions that continue to produce new talent often. But then when you have somebody like Tarek come out and say, whether he was joking or not, he comes out and says, NACS is dead.
Definitely was. No, it has to be.
He took a lot of heat for it, though, right?
Of course.
He said, hey, I didn't mean it like in the sense that it's truly dead. But it's taken a bigger hit. And the reason is Valorant, right? I mean, the whole tier 2 NA scene has shifted over and are now top, tier 1 competitors. The face of Valorant for NA, Wardell, sitting over there laughing at what he was doing in Counter-Strike on Ghost Gaming, has now become the face of one of the fastest growing esports, So from the NA scene, what is the fix? Do you think it's just going to become a passion again for people to, hey, maybe Valorant didn't work out, so I try my hand at Counter-Strike again? Or do you know more about the tier 2 scene or tier 3 even, where it's like, well, there are people in grooming that will get there eventually. We're just a little further behind.
I think so. I mean, look at how CS:GO is now, and when Tarek is where he is today with EG, he wasn't going to be there 10 years ago when we were playing. Like, you know, people are going to retire. There's new blood that's going to come in anyways. There's new prodigies that are coming in as well. And that's where you see like a lot of up and coming players still in the CS scene. I think first off, to address the whole social media or the whole tweet that he did, I think it's just social media, man. Like people take trolls so seriously. The biggest example, in my personal opinion, like in my personal experience even, was when I did the joke about Yoli noobs with Smiths at Northern Arena. And how the fuck did that blow up, right? Like, it's like, for me, it was just a joke. And like the context of it was, I actually was doing okay, so I'll give you guys some context and try to clear the air of that thing too, because of course there's no bad blood between Smiths and I reached out to him as well for sure, and the same thing, for example, happened with Brax before when I joked around. I was like, holy shit, Brax is wearing his headphones over his toque. He's cheating. He could hear the casters. That's because just everybody says that, so you're just saying it as a joke and like people take it the wrong way. So those kinds of things, that the context for Smiths was this whole thread that he had. I don't know if you guys read that in the past. It was like everybody was critiquing Smiths, and then at some point, I think he said, "Yoli noobs." There's a reason why. It's because like I'm a supporter. I'm calling, and then I'm like supporting the team for Flash and stuff like that too. There's so much more that's going on within CS. Blah 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 blah. Right. So it becomes pretty much like a copy pasta. So then during that cast, I was hoping for a round where I could see Smiths like fucking pop off, you know, like get like a 4K, and I could be like, "Yoli noobs," but it's like they're already losing. Optic's about to win. I still wanted to throw it in somewhere, and it was just the context of him whiffing like 3 shots of like an op on Dust 2 A ramp, and I'm just like, "Yoli noobs." But then that plus the whole segment that one of my colleagues did with the whole Kappa phase talking about how Smiths was good and stuff like that too. I think that kind of like started blowing up the whole scene in that sense on Twitter, and everybody started coming out with pitchforks. But for me, at the end of the day, it was just like a small little fun jab that I just wanted to give to Smith, but just like as a troll in general, but not necessarily to like cancel
not
culture.
Beating him down. Yeah,
exactly,
sure.
exactly. So then you know, it's just a social media thing. So that, to address what Tarek said, I'm pretty sure it's in that same context, and then people are just taking it in the wrong way. When it comes down to, I guess, to continue Anuj with what you were saying with what could be the remedy for CS in the future and stuff like that too. I think right now it's not due to the fact that people are switching to Valorant or people are trying different games or people are just tired. I think it's just, again, literally COVID and also due to the fact that there's no, not necessarily no growth, but the chances of getting at a pro level for somebody that's aspiring to get to their pro level is a lot more difficult in 2020, 2021. Take COVID aside, like just how the format is for these leagues now, it's just difficult for a team as an organization to move forward and be a tier 1 organization. You have to be like one of those that are just going to be like the farming teams and sell out contracts so that tier 2 organization kind of survives, while the player will finally strive into playing into like a Cloud9 or a Gen G or a TSM. Well, I'm saying Valorant teams, but whatever. You know, you guys know what I mean. Yeah. But to get into their tier 1 scene, to be able to actually, you know, make a career out of pro gaming. So I think COVID, due to the fact that you can't even travel at all, eliminates the fact that you're having like these dream hacks and these tours where you have like these stops that always used to happen in like at least Montreal or like Texas and or whatnot, and then in Europe, so you have like this circuit going on. Now it's all online, so it's just a little bit more I guess difficult for these organizations to get stuff going on online. I think the circuit's a little bit smaller because they had to cancel a lot of their events for 2020. But I think for 2021, I mean, if we want to continue to, like, these guys as businesses eventually do want to make some money as well, and I'm pretty sure they're sitting around the table for the past few months of like, how is 2021 going to look like if we still have to stay indoors for another year while waiting for a vaccine for COVID? Then I think they're going to come up with a plan that's actually going to help revive the competition for different regions. And I think that's why, like, for example, Valorant, it's going pretty okay because you have set tournaments for set regions. So NA has theirs, Europe has theirs, Asia has theirs, and I don't think that we have that right now in CS. I haven't had a chance to fully follow it every single day.
They're breaking down all the tournaments regionally now, right? So what were once considered worldwide events have been basically broken down by region, right? Whether it's like Katowice's, Cologne's, not those in particular, but any of those large-scale tournaments have separated by region. I think where Valorant has that little bit of a leg up right now is each region is fairly deep, right? Because of the number of teams competing, and we really haven't truly broken down tier 1 versus tier 2. There's so many teams in the mix in any given event, right? Moon Raccoons and you name it, right? There's a bunch of teams that can compete at a high level. Where Counter-Strike, you know, if it's not Europe, your pool looks rather interesting, right? For NA, it's EG, Liquid, you know, Furia, and then everybody else, right? Whoever else that can slot in.
You know what? Now that I think about it, maybe that's the reason why. Because if you're looking at, I don't know what the process is for, let's say, IEM Cologne when they had their own regions, as you were saying here, Anuj. Like, what was the process for these teams to be able to make it to the stage levels, the close levels, and the finals, right? Was there a moment where there was an open bracket for all these teams to play? So, for example, if you compare it to First Strike, then there was 128 teams that were able to register for stage 1 and the stage 2 that's going to happen in 2 weeks. And then you have for an CS, I don't think anything, right? It's just you're inviting
out of the litter. And
exactly. So that's another reason why, like, it's
even at a DreamHack tournament. Right, say DreamHack Dallas. We go to it every year, and we always compete in the CS tournament. Not a big deal, Vansilli, you know, but we do compete in those tournaments. Sidetrack real quick. One time at DreamHack Austin, we got to the top 4 of the tournament, and we were fucking feeling it. We were, just strutting it up and down the convention center. Top 4, shots were hitting. And then DreamHack comes and taps us on our shoulders and they're like, hey, are you guys the center ring? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, you're playing in like a wrong tournament. We canceled that one and redid it. And we were like,
oh, rip.
So it was like all the leftovers. And then we realized why everybody was so bad. We're like, man, we're like really good. We're like 35 years old and we're destroying these kids. It's like, yeah, you're playing in a tournament with like the leftovers right now.
That's amazing.
So we're going to need to reset.
My point to that, though, is even at those tournaments where you do have like the lower tier or just free agent teams, there's no way to say you even win the DreamHack event. There's no filter system up to say you can play with the pros at the next event or whatever.
That's it, right? So First Strike, everybody gets to play. Like 128 teams, even the pros have to play. There's 0 invites. So I think that could maybe be one good recipe to test out. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a Blast or a Flashpoint or an ESL Pro League to like try it out. But I think, I think they should, because they're the ones that have the money right now in terms of the CS scene. But if they have a chance to be like, hey, we want to try to find like who's the next up and coming team and like put them into the circuit or put them into the Pro League, for example, right? And I think that'll be kind of fun to experiment. But I don't know what's going on, to be honest, in their conversations of how they want to continue to push CS in 2021. Or how the circuits would look if we stay with COVID and we're staying within this pandemic where we can't travel. I'm sure it has to go by region, and then they're going to look for something for a good solution for that. Nonetheless, all that to say, I think NA definitely is here to stay for definitely Counter-Strike, and the whole debates that have been going on for like the past week or two as well, to be like, is it Valorant or is it CS? People leave CS to go die in Valorant, or it's like people retire from CS to just be washed up in Valorant. Like, who cares, man? Like, people just
enjoy.
Exactly. You enjoy a game, you're playing the game. Like, let us play whatever game we want to play. Like, the whole debate was always around Valorant and CS, but look at how many Overwatch players went over to Valorant and vice versa, and how many players are like, oh, you know what, I prefer to go back to PUBG, for example, like High Grounds, like Vegas or something. And some Fortnite players are coming to Valorant too. It's just people are playing different games. And before all of these players that are bitching about Counter-Strike, what would they play if Counter-Strike wasn't around? They'll probably play a different game too. It's like, we're all gamers in the end, man. We just want to try and dabble into different things.
We have choices now, right? Like, maybe that's what was different like 15 years ago is, Counter-Strike was everything because it literally was everything. There weren't many other games to play that gave you the same feel or intensity of a 5v5 shooter like Counter-Strike did. You know, not even Call of Duty and things. They were just very different in the way they were.
Just stop gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Stop gatekeeping and let us enjoy. Like,
be welcoming of anybody that wants to join. I mean, if they're playing your game, you should be happy, right?
Exactly.
And no one's forcing anyone to watch anything. That's the beauty of esports, is the content is available for free anywhere you go. So pick what you like, stick with it, and go on, you know? I do want to, before we transition to Valorant, I want to ask you one more thing about Counter-Strike, because I was talking to Gaben the other day. We're close. We were texting back and forth, and me and my boy Gaben were talking about like what can we do for Counter-Strike, right? So I know he's listening right now. I want to know, what do you want to see from a game standpoint, whether it's updates, whether it's introducing new maps, whether it's changing the format. What would you like to see from Counter-Strike to maybe just give it like a little bit of a makeover, right? To make it feel a little fresh in a time where you have a lot of competition. So I will let you have the floor, but I want you to talk directly to Gaben and tell him what you would like to see changed or added or not changed.
Honestly, Gaben, I've actually enjoyed how the game has been ever since it came out for CS:GO. I think ever since the money system switching from MR12 to MR15, and the guns that you have currently, I think are pretty good anyways too. I don't think that, there was a time where we were trying to tweak every single weapon to make sure that every weapon was viable. But when you were playing Counter-Strike 1.5 or 1.6, it was always like, we're going to buy a deagle if we're going to save. We're going to buy an M4 and AK if we have money. And we're going to buy an AWP when we have money. We don't care about a 5.7. We don't care about a P90 in 1.6. Well, sometimes for a 1.6.
The MP5 was pretty golden back in the day.
The MP5 was golden, but who used a UMP? Nobody used a fucking UMP. Who cares, right? So who used a Scout? Nobody used a Scout. Like, who cares? So I think the way that the guns are right now for CS is pretty balanced in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's that much rage going on ever since we finally reverted back from like having to use the SG all the time or like the AUG.
That was rough for all.
Exactly. I was the one, and by the way, like, I don't want to. People were saying like it's like Elige that discovered it and like Kerrigan that discovered it, where like Scope, AUG, and like SG was the best. Bro, I was using that shit in fucking Pugs and ESCA all the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm not a big name anymore. Nobody's gonna listen to this shit. But I was the one that discovered it first.
Warble and 3D that used to use the AUG all the time. Like, it's been around forever, guys.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It goes through its versions.
Exactly. So I think the game is great the way it is, but I think maps would definitely help in the CS community, because when you're so limited of what you could change within the game, people talk about how the skill ceiling for CS mechanically is infinite, and I do agree with that. I believe that quite strongly and quite fondly. When it comes to set strategies and stuff like that too, I mean, there are some small variations you can have, but it does get pretty stale at some point too. You could pretty much cast with your eyes closed if you've watched Na'Vi in the whole circuit, right?
Yeah,
So you kind of have an idea of how all the players play, and you just think about one player, of how good he's going to be, how simple he's going to clutch a 3 versus 1 or get the entries onto the next, right? How he's going to move mechanically that just surprises your opponent. So I think now, if you want to try to like refreshen the strategies of the books and the strat books for some of the teams, I think it's definitely looking back at maps, right? I think how many times we're trying to say like, hey, let's try to bring back Cobble, let's try to bring back this one, let's try to bring back CPL Mill, Tuscan, stuff like that. Fire, like you could revamp the old.
There's
maps.
There's a lot out there.
Exactly. You could definitely revamp the older maps to come back, but I mean, look at how, well, not Volcano anymore, but when FM Pwn and Volcano came out with Cash, like they were working on other maps as well for CS:GO. I think
Sub-Zero, I think, was one of them.
Yeah, Sub-Zero is one of them. I think another one was called Kingdom or something. I can't remember exactly what the
Santorini, I think, was it.
Yeah, right. And then the community ones like Anubis and stuff like, and Swamp and stuff. People like enjoy playing those new maps. So I think being able to support the tier 1 scene, or at least a competitive scene with new maps, is definitely going to help. You don't have to come out with a new map every single month, but I think to add a different one to the map pool, to deepen the map pool for all of these teams, is definitely going to add a little bit more spice too. And I think it adds a little bit more into like the BO3s and BO5s in the finals. So my number one thing, maps. My number two things, probably nothing else. I really like Counter-Strike the way it is.
Yeah, I know. I agree wholeheartedly. I think maps is the biggest thing for me. Getting cash into the map pool, I think, should be done yesterday. I mean, it's been there for quite some time, just sitting there and waiting. Cobble brought us so many. I mean, you think of iconic Cobble plays, right? You start to think of Na'Vi, Virtus Pro, like some of those like really crazy matches.
Desato Kiss Call. Snacks is here. Snacks is hungry, and here's the Big Apple.
The Big Apple. Yeah.
Exactly, man. That kind of stuff,
pistol round. Yeah, so I agree. I think maps for Counter-Strike would really be the perfect thing. Outside of that, maybe fix matchmaking in the game I love Valorant matchmaking. You know, for me as a casual fan, I know for Tim, I could probably speak for him on this. We have gravitated to Valorant because we feel like there's the ability to grind and see my improvement, where in Counter-Strike, the way the ranks work internally, or it feels kind of jacked up at this point. Like it needs a restart almost.
You know what? I actually am a little bit iffy about how the ranking system is for Valorant now because of how small the threshold is. So right now I'm a plat 3. All right. Okay. So October 29th, 2020, I'm plat 3. I don't have many friends that are in that range to play with. So you do a lot of solo queues. Yeah. And solo queues, oh my God, is like the bane of my existence from time to time. It's like, or you're super lucky and you had the best team ever. And when I'm talking about best team, I'm just talking about like non-toxic, people that communicate, and then people that call out strats or like what plays are going to do and work
throwers are also
exactly
a part of this.
Well, that's the other thing. So, or you're lucky to get those, but the majority of the time you just have a couple of guys like, holy crap, you're plat 3 now, you're plat 2 before, you're playing like shit. Look at your 6 and 20. Like there's just so much toxicity in terms of solo queuing in Valorant right now. And I don't know how it is in CSGO today because I've been matchmake before in a while, but like misogynistic comments as soon as a woman wants to calm with the team, and then it doesn't become a ranked game anymore because they're just gonna start drooling and be like, oh hey baby, here and there. It's like, fuck guys, like grow the fuck up, one. And then two, it's just like I wish we had more of like a positive community in terms of like, you know, people play ranked because they want to try to get better, but if people fail, let's not bash them for it. It just makes it worse. So I think because of that, it's just hard for me to play rank on my own, and I have to make a Smurf account and did on purpose to rank like a silver 3 gold 1 so I can play with my other friends that are around that rank, right? So it's and then now you're sweating in that rank, but you're like, I don't want to rank up this account. I want to rank up my main account.
Yeah, so we've actually talked about that.
Exactly, man. Holy shit.
And we talked about that too, is where like before it was like a 6 rank range, right? Which was crazy. Like you could be gold 3 whatever playing with like a bronze 1, and you're like, oh my, this is rough. Like this bronze 1 guy is terrible, right? But at the same time, like you said though, I felt like that minimized people making alt accounts just to play with their bronze 3 friend or whatever.
It makes it sucky for people that are low level too, because now suddenly they're just playing against a godlike player that's usually an immortal 3 or like an immortal 1, and he's just like wiping off the map and the server with like dropping 30 bombs and 40 bombs, and people are like, oh,
well. Flying overhead with jet, and you don't know where to look.
And all they want to do is play with their friend. So it's it's not even like they're just being big jerks. It's like, it's my buddy. Like I just want to play. It's Friday night. I don't want to play with a buddy.
Yeah,
that's it.
And from a developer's perspective, I kind of get it why they wanted to do that too, is because, you know, I think when you had like, when you were able to play from like bronze 1 or let's say gold 1 to I think diamond 1, I think it was like 2 ranks, right? We were talking about 2 ranks here. Yeah. I think it's very similar to how matchmaking for CSGO is. It's like, you know, if you want to play with your friends, you can play with your friends. But I think at the same time, because you're putting it at a lower threshold, is because people were bitching a lot about the queue times as well, as how long it is to be like a 2 stack or a 3 stack when the levels are all over the place, to try to balance that in the end too. So they wanted to make the wait times a little bit lower. I think that's my assumption as to why we have that now. So I get it from their point of view. So that's why it's like, it sucks, but at the same time you come to terms and accept it, because they're trying to make it as complete as possible for any skill level to just enjoy and have fun with the game too. That's all the tweaks that we see with the agents or the maps and stuff like that too. It's just all through community feedback, where, you know, it's a fine line that you step on or you have to cross, because it's you want to appease the general public that's going to play your game, because that's how you make money, because they're all going to buy your skins. But you also want to appease the people that are at the pro level that doesn't want their game to be broken to a point where it's like anybody could play, anybody could be pro, right? There's a reason why people are playing this game, is because there is still a skill level to be good at this game, and not everybody should be able to attain that plateau.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask you this then, because you did mention like adjusting the agents and things like that. So my favorite game for 3 years, played it every single day, and I haven't touched it for a year, was Overwatch.
My condolences.
Loved it. It was dead. What's that? Well, I missed it. What?
You said my condolences.
Oh, yeah. Well, I played in a league and I got banned for teabagging someone. And then I was like, this isn't the community for me. This is not the community for me. So, long story short, though, I felt like part of that game's demise was Blizzard tried to balance it too much. And it was like, it wasn't even like the pros or the community could create meta. It was Blizzard was creating the meta with their blatant, obvious balance updates, right? Now we're seeing, this is me being over-exaggerated, but I somewhat see that with Riot with some of these patches, with like, for example, this Cypher one coming up, where now his traps, which was 90% why people played Cypher, now they are no longer active once he dies. And that's going to completely change the way people play him, possibly even pick him, because now you have Killjoy, which her turrets are still active after death, so it still gives you the information, which...
Not really, actually. So, because now with Killjoy, even if you step away from a 40-meter radius from what you drop down, they deactivate until you fall back in that radius. So I think if you're dead, they're deactivated as well. But a detail, I see what you mean in terms of the changes. Yeah.
Yes. So my main question for you though is, what direction do you feel like Riot is trying to take this? Do they want people to kind of go more of a run and gun duel? Like, and I don't get me wrong, I kind of like the Cypher changes, because I felt like I was always shoehorned into playing Cypher because I felt bad if the team didn't have one. So I'm very happy that he's less useful. But I also think because it does allow now for it to be an FPS first and the abilities come second.
That's a good question. And I had that debate as well with my stream and just people in general too. It's the first one is I was kind of mad about it. I was disappointed in the changes with Killjoy and Cypher, not necessarily Cypher, but more Killjoy, because I used to be a Sage main, and then I played Killjoy when Killjoy came out. So now I got Sage that got nerfed, Killjoy got nerfed, and my alt ones that I play okay with is Omen and Breach. So at least they're not touched. Brief got a buff on top of that. I'm happy, but you can't play Breach and ranked anyways because you need so much teamwork and communication. And as I mentioned to you guys before,
too difficult at the lower ranks.
Exactly, or too difficult just solo queue.
Yeah.
But to first off, I think Riot are still doing a great job in terms of developing their agents and doing their tweaks, because I don't think they necessarily do it the way that, for example, Blizzard Activision would do it with Overwatch, is that Riot actually just literally talks to everybody. Like they approach pro gamers, they approach the streamers, they approach it from different points of views, and they have focus groups and stuff like that too, where their community could give their feedback over what's going right, what's going not right in terms of Valorant. And my theory around what they're trying to do with Killjoy and Cypher by nerfing their kits is to allow, first off, maybe more picks of Breach and Sage that kind of fell off as soon as the
Sage nerf, we'll call it.
Exactly. The Sage nerf came out, and even if Breach got a buff, he still wasn't picked out enough, right? So I think they want to try to add that a little bit. But the other one is, I think they wanted to try to balance a little bit more in terms of like the attack executions and the defensive executions. So what I mean by that is, for example, as I love to lurk with the Killjoy, to still be able to put a turret on the other side of the map once we're able to make it into a site and could still spot somebody when they're trying to go for a rotation in a flank. What does that do? It means before that actually happens, if I take over a site as an attacker and I plant, and it's like, let's say, or 4 versus 2 on a retake, right? And we're going to talk about Sea Haven at this point.
Okay.
That means I could have my 4 players play 2 watching spawn and 2 watching Sea Garage. Nobody needs to watch flank. Why? Because you have a trapwire, because you have an alarm bot, you have a turret. So on a 4 versus 2, when you're trying to rotate and retake the site as a defender, it's nearly impossible at that point. So now that you're able to, let's say if you kill a Cypher first when he's lurking, he's punished for it because it's a high risk, high reward. If he's able to flank and to get a kill as a roamer and opens up a site, his kit is still around. But if he goes for the roam and he dies, he gets punished for it, his kit is gone, which allows then on a site retake to give more chances for a defender to come in and retake the site and eventually defuse a spike if they eliminate all the post plant defenders, right? And I think it's something very similar to in that sense for Killjoy 2, in the exact same example. So I think for that, you need a little bit more in terms of like how to move in as a team and making sure that somebody's watching flank, and you eliminate numbers of stacking watching at a certain angle where you're forcing someone to stay back and watch flanks, where you could actually have that 1 versus 1 storyline on the flank, and then that 2 versus 2 storyline on the main spawn rotating on the C side. So I think that makes it a little bit more fun in the end. So that's definitely something that is going to be looked at. I'm assuming now next week, I think, when the patch is going to come out again for them to try again. So I think we'll have a better understanding and a better idea at that point. In general, though, I still never really was against the changes that Riot have been doing, because if they needed to make some modifications, they'll make the modifications. Like I said, they listen to the community a lot, and they won't just do it and leave it.
I think that's the big part right there, right? Is they can recognize that they made an oops. Where most developers, I won't point any fingers, Blizzard, they would put in a patch, everyone would be like, this sucks. And they were like, well, that's it.
We'll see you in 3 months when we do the next big update.
Exactly. We got to do it no matter what. We got to adjust with it no matter what. I think the only thing that's a little bit iffy right now with Riot, with what they're doing with patches, is the timing of their releases. Because so far we've seen this release exactly right in the middle of First Strike that created some issues, and then the rollback, of course, makes things a little bit better. But still, at the same time, it's like if there wasn't any issues, you still have to adapt to it right away. So there's no playtest server or tournament server where you could just play the current patch until the next tournament comes out.
Yep.
And I think it was the same example with Killjoy too. Killjoy came out like a week before the FaZe Invitational, and then the mollies were so
exactly the first event because
exactly because her mollies were too OP. So and I think banning her for 2 weeks but still allowing her in ranks allow for them to collect the data on how that agent is being played, how much she's being picked, and it's very similar to probably what's happening with Skye now. Skye is going to come out. They're going to not allow her to be played for 2 weeks before, so that they could stress test to see how Skye is actually doing in ranked, and probably have their own point of views and scrims and stuff like that too when the pros are actually going to play as well, and give their feedback to Riot. And then Riot could then decide, okay, should we push her into tournament, or should we wait a bit? Should we do some last minute changes? So I think that's cool. I definitely think it's going to help a lot more once we have the tournament servers, or at least the, how do you call that servers? Like the PTRs?
Realm, the public test realm,
the public test servers and
exactly public test servers. So so those ones, and I think that's coming like 2021. Mind you, like this game only came out like 3-4 months ago. So
and it's crazy how much it's evolved, right? Just in the few months. When it came out at the start of the beta, I think came out at the start of COVID, and then we had an official launch in June. So to see where the game is just not even 6 months after release, it's really impressive. And I agree with exactly what you're saying. I think the beauty of what Riot has shown is the ability to adapt to changes, right? So it's not set in stone. When they release something, they are taking feedback from the community. They are taking feedback from the pro side, and we're seeing changes be made. So I'm excited for the upcoming changes. And I know you mentioned Skye. Did you get a chance to play her for the few minutes that she was available?
No, unfortunately not. For me, the new patch, I didn't want to pay any attention to it, as my main focus was to figure out what's going to happen in this first qualifier for First Strike and the open qualifiers, and see how the teams are currently playing. And then I probably wouldn't even play Skye until she actually comes out into actual play 2 weeks later. So I think, like, for example, next week would be the closed qualifier for Nursery Gamers, so technically she'll still be banned. And then who knows if that 2 week is now starting on the next time she comes out. So
when it actually re-releases and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah. So that means like she might be banned on the first week of UMG as well. I mean, it'll be fun to like maybe play her and check her out, but to try to theory craft on how she is in pro play, I won't really study those until we actually get to see her in those games.
I'm just going to tell you right now, Alex. Okay, just get ready for this.
For sure.
Get ready for Skye to make casting a living nightmare, because I got to play 2 games with her, and times I cute her. Get ready for birds to be coming out of the sky, seekers, wolves. I mean, it's really mess up your game that you're putting in place right now, because she is unique. I mean, she is a one of a kind. I loved it. I thought it was great that she was so different, but she has got a lot in her kit to use.
Bro, I don't know if you saw like a retweet I did like 3 days ago when the agent came out. It was a retweet from Justinova, and he's like, "This is my experience in ranked now." So he was playing a B Haven on Split, and it's like they had, I think, a breach on both sides, Ska on both sides, and Omen on both sides. So think about that. So the burst flashes came exactly. It was literally fucking 11 flashes, 13 flashes coming from both sides, like counter breach to counter breach, paranoia to paranoia, sky, and then smokes comes out, and man, it was insane. He's just laughing the whole time, and then you don't see anything. So it's like, and that's the other thing. It's like, now are we trying to come out with too many flashes for like, because people were bitching in the beta times saying like, oh, there's not enough flashes, there's not enough utilities for us to try to execute, not enough smokes here and there, blah, blah, blah. Now we have too many of it.
Well, let me tell you what, though. It doesn't fucking matter. Because people don't give a shit about smokes or flashes in Valorant. Put a smoke down, walk through it. Flash you, they push forward. Like, they don't care.
Hell yeah. No, for sure. And I think...
Like, you put a smoke down in Counter-Strike, you might as well have put a wall up because no one's walking through that smoke. A smoke in Valorant, people are like, whatever, just run through it.
That when the game first came out, I think people did think about it as a Counter-Strike smoke. As soon as you put a Brim smoke down, because people were playing a lot of Brim more than Omen, of course, because his paranoia wasn't buffed yet. So everybody was still using Breach, and Breach, the smoke is a lot thicker. And you kind of the idea was like, oh, we can't really run through it because versus Counter-Strike, you could still go through it because you could pop flash yourself like a Stewie 2K style and get into a site and try to get kills. So you could do like a very selfish one-way play that could result into a high reward for the team. When you're playing Valorant, if the brimstone smoke came down and your flashes were all dead, you can't really do anything. So you actually did have to wait. Unless you run out for like a trade or something like that too, and now that Omen is picked a lot more, because in that little dome you could kind of like fight in that. People do want to push into that. Exactly. So I think it's just the way that how you really wanted to try to adapt or play against your the type of agent, right? So if it's going to be like a brimstone that comes back, I don't think people play into that smoke a lot. Like, think about a cloud burst. When Jet throws a cloud burst into a site, the one that plays into the smoke, I don't think often runs through it as much as you kind of would trying to run through an Omen smoke, right? Because it's there's less haziness in an Omen dark cover, so it allows you to just try to find the right timing to go through the smoke and try to go for a jiggle peek. So in the end, like I do believe that the smokes are okay, but the flashes right now I think I don't want to jump to that conclusion yet because we haven't really had a chance to see it with Sky yet, right? So I think when Sky comes out, what type of agents are going to start picking and stuff like that too, what type of composition is going to come out. But already when you're having tweets from like Scream and from other players having like six breach flashes going back and forth on long B of bind, then now you're going to be able to add a lot more flashes into the compositions, especially as you mentioned before, Tim, if you're actually going to remove if the pick rate of ciphers and killjoy is going to go down, possibly where people kind of want to go like a triple duelist. Like I could even imagine now like a triple duelist, breach, and a omen. So you have no really sentinel kits. Then you're going to start seeing more bloodbaths for sure, but also there's a possibility that you're going to see a lot more flashes in sites too. And if that's going to become ridiculous, then I'm sure it's going to be approached and tweaked as we go.
I'm sure they have a general meta of what they want the game to play out like, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to ever want it to be where no sentinels are ever picked, right? Or
that's right.
People are just picking one duelist. And so I would expect to see that continue to evolve and get to a comfortable place. But I am excited for just having another character, having another map. Like, these are all things that the community wants. There are always that group that's going to be out there and bitch about it right away, right when it comes out. But like, we've seen 10 minutes of gameplay of Sky, so everybody kind of needs to chill a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
See what it's like. Let's see how they adjust, and if it's not there, we'll figure that out. One thing I do want to touch on, because I know we're getting close to the end of our time here. I do want to talk about First Strike. So let us know, you are going to be casting in First Strike, right? Is this correct?
Well, not the grand finals. I haven't had news on the grand finals yet. I haven't had that conversation yet.
I'll put the call in. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But at least for sure, I know that I'm going to be doing the finals of the First Strike Open qualifier tomorrow.
Okay.
And then for the close qualifiers and the UMG ones, I still need to hopefully have that conversation with them to see if I could get picked. So right now, in terms of like casting talent for Valorant, it's very still last minute in terms of what's your next event, right? Even if the event's next weekend, you might not know until like 3 days before. So it's very cutthroat right now. You still have to battle versus a lot of very, very good talent that we currently have in Valorant in terms of casters. But hopefully we hope for the best. But if not, at the same time, I've always been this type of way too. It's like if I don't get picked, I don't think I would be pissed about it, because if I get picked over, or if somebody gets picked over me, it's because they deserve it as well, and it's because they worked at it harder than I did. And to that, I mean, like, more power to them, and I'll just be watching as a spectator and try to figure out what I need to do in terms of my craft as a caster to be able to be picked next time. So how do I improve myself?
Just like the players are making the switch over from Counter-Strike, we're seeing that in the talent side also. Not just necessarily making the switch, but it's new. We all believe it's one of the next big esports. It doesn't mean it has to be number one, but it's going to be a big esport. So I think it makes sense for a lot of the talent to give it a shot and see what's out there. And so just touching on First Strike briefly here.
Yep.
What do so far we've seen, I wouldn't say we've seen major upsets. Like, I think the teams that we all thought would advance to a particular stage have kind of lined up that way. Obviously, Sentinels falling to Gen G, 2-0 would be considered a big upset. But I was really hoping for some of those like teams ranked 115 to 128, like a power play move, and we didn't necessarily see that. But what have you taken away from First Strike so far, whether that's good, bad, and ugly?
So far, man, I think what I really like about First Strike, and again, the open bracket, the open qualifier, it gave a chance for a lot of the tier 2 teams to get their names out there. When you're trying to look at maybe who made it to the top 16, it's pretty much who we intended to move forward, with the exception, of course, some of the matches I'm thinking about, Immortals and Energy, for example, right? I think that could be some of the matches that, we kind of wish they made it to the top 16, but just because of how they were placed within the bracket, they had to face off against each other quite early. So Complexity versus Energy, I'm looking at the bracket right now. So Complexity versus Energy got knocked out, so they couldn't make it forward. But I think what I did like was Cloud9 White, right? Cloud9 White for me were one of the teams, the women's team that I have been following for quite a bit since the beta days, and to see that they're able to do quite well, actually.
Man, that's great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and not only that, it's like the team that they lost to that got eliminated, which is like the slimy boys. Yeah, the slimy boogermans. So they actually lost to that team like 10-13.
Yeah,
and slimy boogermen were still able to beat, I think it was Space Station. No, not Space Station Gaming. Sorry, I think it's Built by Gamers, right?
It was Built by Gamers. They beat them 2-1.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So if you look back into that bracket, they're able to beat Built by Gamers 2-1. So like, and I know that Built by Gamers, they just came out with a new roster and everything too. But like Cloud9 White probably could have had a very good chance to beat Built by Gamers as well. So I really like, although it's just top 32 and it didn't make it to the top 16, I still like how good they've played when we got to watch their matches. For everything else though, like FaZe Clan not making it, or Energy not making it, Rise not making it, Nbox not making it on a 2-0. I think that one, I still haven't had a chance to look at that demo, but or the VODs, but from what I heard, it was a 11-1 for Nbox on Haven, and they still lost 13-11. So
I just pulled it up. You're right. There was 11-1, and then LG sweeped them on the back end.
So that would have been probably some of the stuff that would have been like a match that I am definitely going to watch the VOD to see what the hell happened there. But there were a lot of, once you got to the top 32 or top 16 or even top 8 now and top 4, there's been a lot of matches that were like all these teams and all these organizations got pushed to the limit before we got down to like the regular top 8 that we kind of know, right? Like even Sentinels, they lost a map to Kudos in like the round of 64, I think, right? So that was already a scare there. You have so many of the tier 2 teams that were able to bring other teams to a 3 map. So that's what I love about the scene right now.
Gives them recognition that they deserve, right? Like
exactly.
These are the big names are already going to get all the notoriety. They're already well known. They're in the caster's mouth in the sense of y'all also know them from other esports titles.
That's right. It's
easy to focus on them, just as we do on this show. We're just as guilty of it, and so I think that's the beauty of First Strike is giving everybody a fair shot. Like it feels like an NCAA bracket where you're going and look. There are favorites. We know that. But on any given day, you come out and put up a good game, you have a chance of taking it. And that's been my favorite part about First Strike.
That's what I love as well. And there for this event here, there's been a lot of organizations and teams where, you know, it was a question mark to see what was going to happen with them too, right? FaZe, we haven't seen them since they pretty much got picked up to play their own tournament, the FaZe Invitational. How are they going to do? And like I said, Build by Gamers, they came in with a new roster. LG, how are they doing now? Now that they lost Venerated. We're looking at Gen G now that they picked up Sean. You already saw that right now of how they were able to beat Sentinels 2-0. Envy, now that they picked up Crashies and Food, like we haven't seen them since they were announced.
It was beautiful that they beat T1. Let's just throw that out there.
Exactly.
2 guys to get that victory. That had to be icing on the cake for them.
And that's a storyline in itself too for T1. It's like, okay, T1, it's like the iBuy power minus the fifths, minus steel. And how are they gonna do? Like they kind of did okay, but there's potential to do better. But they were questionable in some of their gameplays, especially on Split. And
that's been their kind of MO throughout so far, though.
There's exactly
potential, but they should be better in everybody's eyes, I feel.
But this was a new page to be like, is it going to be something new, or is it still going to be like, oh man, it's going to be the next one? We'll check the next one. We'll check the next one. And it seems that storyline for them, it's like, we're going to check the next one. And then last one was 100 Thieves, right? 100 Thieves. We wanted to know how they're going to do now that they dropped most of High Grounds and they have this roster now. They brought in Nitro too. It's like, holy shit, this is awesome. So I think the scene is like super exciting right now too, and that's why like from day one of the open qualifiers, they already had such a big number in terms of viewership because everybody was excited about this type of storyline, and I think it's going to get even better as soon as we make it to the closed qualifiers, the next 4 teams that will qualify into the UMG one, and then finally the grand finals of the top 8 in December. I think it's pretty hype. So again, for a game that came out like 5-6 months ago, I keep saying 3-4 months, but fuck man, time flies by in this fucking COVID days, man. Holy shit.
It's the same, dude.
Yeah, I don't even know what day we are today. So
fucking house.
so then just to see how the scene or the circuit is going to be in 2021 is something super exciting to look forward to for this game.
Not many games too can go like a full year, like its first year, all online, no international. Like it is going to, when they finally have that first LAN tournament with international, NA, EU, throw in Korea, throw in whatever.
So good.
Like everybody is involved in this.
Oh yeah, we're talking about storylines. That is probably gonna be the biggest storyline too. It's like Absolute Jupiter. They finally got some losses, but can they bounce back? Vision Strikers are unstoppable right now in Korea. What are they gonna be like in the international scene? What's the ranking now? Can G2 beat TSM? Or even now within NA, it's like, is it TSM now? Is it Sentinels? Is it now Envy with how well they've played today? It's like,
or
there's so many question marks.
You know, by 2021, will Cloud9 just have every player in Valorant under their rosters?
Well, hopefully it's going to get to some point where it's kind of like Valve to say, like, you know, we can't have too many organizations under the same entity to like play into a tournament. That could get kind of iffy. But that would be
no. I like what they're doing. Get one in every region. Get the all-female team.
Exactly.
Like, cover all your bases because whenever one hits off, you're good to go.
Cut the other ones. No, definitely. I think it's going to be great. The future of Valorant is bright within these dark times, and I think it's only going to get better. I think, like you guys say, like there's going to be so much hype around once we finally have LAN again, and I think that's for all esports in general. I think CS is going to fucking boom. Valorant's going to boom, but I think it's going to boom a bit more because it has so much hype behind it as well.
They should just start off with the World's Championship. Should be their first event. hit it with Worlds and let's go from there.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure it's gonna be at the level of Worlds right now for League of Legends, and if it gets to that point, man, fuck, it's super exciting. I think that has always been my dream. At least, like, for me, it's not necessarily to cast a grand finals or anything like that too. It's just like I was able to be on a main stage in the golden days of competitive gaming before it was esports, and it was like, holy shit, we have like a skywalk for TSN sport, the Team Sportscast Network, and everybody's like watching on a big screen, and just on the ground there's like, what, let's say 200 300 people, and we had about 1,000 people watching live online, and it's like, holy shit, man, like we're beating records here. But now it's like a sold out arena of like 12,000 people, and I'm like, fuck. Like I love the fact, like I do have a sense of pride into, like, I consider myself one of the pioneers to be able to like pave the way for the casters to be where it is today. Not necessarily the example, but to be one of the first one is kind of like a nice achievement that I like to be proud of. But definitely now that I'm able to see how esports is today, it's like, if I'm able to be back in an arena on a stage to be able to call like a Valorant game or any other game that aspires me to want to cast a game, man, I'll be moved. It'll be like, it's like my biggest bucket list.
Well, we believe in you. We hope you make it there. I want to thank you again, Alex, for coming on the show. We definitely appreciate it. We'll definitely have to have you on again. Maybe,
for sure,
down the road when First Strike picks up, when you're casting the grand finals, we'll have you on. Before we let you go, if we could just get a audio autograph from you, a liner, if you will, where you just can state your name and whatever, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
The Center Ring?
Yep.
Awesome. But first off, guys, thank you so much for having me, man. It was actually a blast. I know we only booked it for half an hour, and we talked for like an hour and 20 minutes, so my apologies for that. But I'd love to do more with you guys. Not a problem. It was super fun. So with that, my name is Alex Vansilli, and you're listening to The Center Ring.
Perfect. Thank you. And also, Alex, you're a special occasion because you get to have a real TCR experience, as Anuj forgot to unmute his mic.
I'm sorry?
Anuj forgets to unmute his mic all the time.
When you have a crying 4-month-old in the background, I got to be cautious that it's not coming through when I'm talking. So I'm like actively muting and waiting for people to stop talking. No, but in all seriousness, thank you very much, dude. It was really a pleasure to have you on. We've followed your career for a long time, so it's been great to get a chance to finally get to speak with you. And man, it was really wonderful. I love the insight, and we look forward to doing this again.
For sure. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much, eh?
All right, and thank you again to Vansilli for taking the time to join us and discuss some of his career in Counter-Strike and some Valorant and First Strike. We'll definitely have to have him on again. I feel like all of our guests, you kind of need them on 2 times. Because the first time, you get all the introductions out of the way, talk about their career, but then like next time I really want to get into like the teams, the nitty-gritty of Valorant, but
especially with somebody like that, right? Like somebody that's covering the game day in, day out. Like that's who you want to have.
Yeah, like he watches it with, and so more than we do.
Yeah. I mean, as much as it's his job, right? His job is evolved around watching these teams compete, understanding how they go about things. So yeah, we'll definitely have him back on. Let's let some of these tournaments go by and give him an opportunity to get going, and then we'll definitely get him back on. But that's a lot of, it's a good interview when you're like an hour and 10 minutes in, and you told the other person it's supposed to be like 20 to 30 minutes, right? Like we'll be done in like 20 to 30, and you felt like you could go for another hour on top of that.
Eventually that will come back to bite us, but I do agree.
Yeah.
There will be that one guest where it's like, guys, you told me 30 minutes ago. Like, and we're like, well, can you expect with the #1 esports podcast, sir? So yes, thanks again to Vansilli. Go ahead and check him out on Twitter @Vansilli. Send him the love from the TCR. Send him the love from the Ringers. Do you remember that when I was calling our listeners Ringers? I think that lasted 2 episodes.
No, that went like about a month and a half. It was when we were like heavily involved in doing our community nights that lasted a month and a half until I joined you in Kid World.
Yeah, that changes things a little bit, don't it?
Just a little bit.
Still need to get a good date for a community night.
I think with the holidays coming up, we should find some time around then because we know we're all going to be like at home.
I think for those who have a commitment to the listener. At least 1 community night a month. I don't want to say the first Saturday or the last Saturday or whatever because that puts a date and schedules around it. But if we can finagle it around, we can get one night a month.
Even if we hop on late night and that's when it's got to be sometimes, if we just have to get it in that way,
Yeah.
I'm down. And look, for the holidays, I think it'd be cool to do one for those of you guys that are out there that maybe family doesn't live close to you, you're trapped inside because of COVID, you don't want to spend, your holidays alone. Well, shit, we'll put a night to it, and maybe let's do something during the holidays where we can all get together and just game a little bit.
I mean, I already missed my son's first holiday of Halloween last year for Disneyland, so
let's make it Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah, like nothing. Don't put anything past me. I'll skip it. So yeah, let's figure that out. Let's discuss off air, as they say. Other than that, we also have to figure out a documentary. I know we've had good suggestions. Also need to discuss that. We'll tease what one we're gonna watch next show.
Let's do that after my sister's wedding in 1 week.
Yes, sounds good.
This week's got to be a crazy week. Probably won't have time to watch a doc, but maybe in like 2 weeks.
So we'll figure it out.
The books. Yeah,
we'll figure it out. We got things planned. Don't you worry. All right. So it is the end of the month, which can only mean one thing. It is time for Ask Us Anything. This is the exclusive time that you, the listener, get with Anuj and myself. Well, we will answer any of your questions. You can feel free to ask in Discord, in chat, DMs on Twitter, wherever, right? If you want to stay anonymous, just let us know. So that way we will make note of that, make a burner account, ask us on that, whatever. We will answer them last Thursday show of every month.
I like the originality behind this topic. Like, I'm surprised no one's thought of it before.
It's like ask us anything. No one's thought of it. It's incredible. So I'll go in order as I have them here, which is no particular order. I think it's just as I saw them. So first question comes from Captive. Do you guys think big orgs will return to Rocket League because the increase in popularity and availability? Obviously, meaning with Rocket League going free to play.
It depends on what you mean by big orgs, right? Because you have BDS, you have Envy, you got Vitality, you got now Guild Esports, who I guess you could say is growing, Rogue, Dignitas. But I get it. Like, you're probably talking, I think even what G2 has a team as well, but he's probably thinking like what Cloud9, Liquid, maybe Fnatic. I don't think they have a team. So yeah, I think there's more opportunity for them to enter the space. I mean, Cloud9 had a team for a long time and went away from it. A lot of these orgs that you're also probably referencing have teams in several esports already. And so maybe this is just a segment they don't have the manpower to deal with or choose not to go that route for whatever reason. But I think because of its accessibility and probably how relatively cheap it is in terms of you just need 3 players, I could see some of these guys re-entering the space, or if they haven't been in there, maybe coming in for the first time. But I do think we have a lot of big orgs involved in Rocket League.
I'm a little surprised that for some of the ones that dropped out, right? Like when Cloud9 dropped out, I was a little shocked just because they had recently won a world championship, right? Yep. They had a fan favorite roster, even though they weren't performing well at the time. So I guess that's one of the reasons why. But I was a little surprised by that. Now, obviously, they wanted to go in a completely different direction, right? If you need the budget to have 3 Valorant teams, then you're going to have to drop them in certain areas.
Well, plus a multi-million-dollar Counter-Strike team that you just signed.
Yeah, so obviously their focus was more on like the FPS side of things and obviously their league team. Like you said, like there's not really a whole lot of other big orgs that could enter that would convince me, well, now Rocket League is serious. Yeah. I guess you're Cloud9, Fnatic. Is Astralis a big org? They're a successful org. I don't know if you necessarily call them big, though, in the sense of, other teams or other games. I would think so. I would almost have to expect, though, like, more TV exposure would have to happen for Rocket League, which I've always had money on that would be the first esport to get a regular TV appearance because it's just so easy to work around, like from a timing standpoint and, having commercial breaks in between games. The games last a certain amount of time apart from some overtime here and there. very TV friendly. So maybe that's when you would see bigger orgs. But I think when that's the case, you get leagues and whatnot anyway. So the short answer is yes. I mean, I do think you'll see bigger orgs come back into it. It's just probably not as many as you think because there are big orgs in there still. So,
yeah.
Next question here comes from Arcus on Discord. I believe that's how you say his name. He asks, how do you see the future of esports unfolding, considering that games have lifespans and their publishers are creating, distributing, and supporting them for profit? Will we ever see a standard tactical FPS, MOBA, standard like football, whatever, right? Your standard game. How will those games be distributed? Who controls them, if anyone? So I kind of answered this a little bit on the Discord, but then I wanted to save it in details because I also know, Anuj, you don't look at Discord. So, which we all make fun of you in there too. So just don't even bother joining. Just get your feelings hurt. I mean, I do think you have your standard FPS and your standard MOBA, right? Like League of Legends and Counter-Strike. Those are your two standards. Now, the issue is unlike traditional sports, you can't just have football and football be football forever, right? You can't just have even League of Legends, right? It can't just be League of Legends the way it is right now forever. You're going to have to always tweak champions, include new champions. Hell, we might even see them include a different... Well, they have changed the map too, right? From like when it originally released and stuff. Like you have to tweak things because you have competing interests that constantly change with gaming. Even with new sports that enter into the world, like you see new football leagues start up and immediately fail because the clutch that the NFL has on football. Now, there's the also issue is no one owns football, right? So you just create a league and go with it. With League of Legends, like no one can just create a League of Legends league. Riot owns all of it. So I think that's where you will kind of come into issues where everyone will want a piece of the pie. And at what point does that pie become too thinly sliced? But yeah, I mean, I guess what I don't think is you won't see a standard game and it just sticks that way. I think you will see a standard franchise, right? Like point in case Call of Duty has been around forever and has always been consistently one of the more popular games out there. Even though it's been different every time, the franchise itself of Call of Duty has been consistent and standard in that sense.
Short answer, no. That will never happen. The longer version of that answer is it's exactly what Tim said. It's already there in certain areas. Counter-Strike's been around for 20 years. Like that would be considered a lifetime of esports so far, right? Like it doesn't really go much before that. And it's at its peak, even now. So the Counter-Strike has gotten better over time. The game has gained popularity. It's been around forever. League of Legends, one of the first MOBAs out there, been around 10 years. Again, like that's a very, like since we've seen growth in esports, League of Legends has been the staple along with Dota 2 in terms of a MOBA. So I think that's already happening, but the control for that will never change, right? It's always going to be that publisher owned unless they sell it off. But it's already there, but it's not going to happen in the way that you're asking if it will happen. There'll never be that standard game. It's not how, unfortunately, technology just works differently in games than it does in traditional sports, right? Like a ball and a hoop are never going to change, right? The fiber of the net might change. The texture in the sense of what the ball is made out of might be adjusted at some point a little bit here and there. But the premise and all that is the court is always going to be this long. The number of players on the team is always going to be this many. With video games, with technology evolving, graphics getting better, virtual reality, the money becoming like big boy money, that will always evolve the types of games that we see. And then it's just easy for competitors to come in to this scene where like Tim mentioned with, the different football leagues that we've seen here with the XFL and all that nonsense, like in gaming, 100 of those pop up yearly, right? Now looking at all the ex-Blizzard employees that have gone out and created new gaming studios and all that, they're going to compete with games they know how to make, which is other games that are active in the scene. So No, like it'll never happen in the way that you're saying it'll happen, but in a sense, it's kind of happening with individual published games right now.
It's happening in an esports way.
Yeah,
you're not going to see it like yeah. Because I also think it's a little different too. Like with traditional sports, right? It's if you want to kind of do a 1-for-1 comparison, right? You will always have the same map in hockey, right? The ice will always be the same. The nets will always be the same, unless like you go to international size or Olympic size. But that's same, right? It's always going to be the same. What changes is the players, right? Those players will get older and shuffle out, and the younger kids will be more agile and things like that. You can create different strategies around it. With esports, you don't necessarily get that, right? Some of these maps, the executions are going to be the executions, and it won't ever change until they tweak some of the meta, or if they do a balance update, or maybe make this box sit 5 feet over this way to cover up this angle from a doorway, right? Things like that. And so that's what's different, I think, with esports too, is like there are certain things where, like say, for example, a trap defense in hockey, eventually people just learn to how to counter it, right? Or play around it. With esports and gaming in general, some things you just can't learn to counter, because if it's unbalanced feature in the game, it is what it is, right? So that's also kind of, I think, where esports can struggle as finding that formality as far as the longevity that traditional sports have. But that's my 2 cents. So next question here. Obier, I think that's how you say the name. Obier asks, he mentioned that he saw a discussion on Steam asking if Total War 3 Kingdoms will ever be an esports. Thoughts? So I'm going to lump this in with just like, will we, and we kind of already discussed this not that long ago, like RTSs and things like that. And he actually asked this, I think, like the day before Blizzard announced their plans for StarCraft. So kind of serendipitous there. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if that game will ever be an esport, in the sense, like, is it going, like, when did it come out? Like, that'll give me
I think just any Total War, right? Just say Total War.
Yeah, like, okay, so maybe not that game in particular, but I'll go broad on this with you. I think the genre of RTS will make a comeback at some point. So if you're an RTS fan and you've been waiting and it's like, man, like StarCraft was like everything in the scene for so long, or like, the Command and Conquer fans, or Age of Empire fans, like whatever your game is, Total War fans, I think you will all have a game that hopefully you can kind of unite around, whether it's the new group, what is it, Frostbite or Frostborn or whoever they were. I know they
Frost something.
Giant. Yeah, Frost something. The ex-Blizzard employees, like maybe, their game is something to keep an eye on. So I know Age of Empires has a brand new game coming out. Like, I think there's room in the genre for it. I think now is the time that it's opened up for a competitor, with Blizzard announcing that they're no longer going to be supporting like the StarCraft 2 community. Like, these people will be looking for a place to go. These contracts with ESL will run out. They're not going to have events to go to. Everyone's going to look for the next big thing. So I hope there is a game that brings the RTS world back. Like, I'm hoping for it. Seems like you are too. So my heart tells me yes. I just don't know when. Like, I don't think it's anything that's out right now.
No, it's definitely nothing that's out. I think Blizzard made a mistake of publicly going out about StarCraft 2, and here's why. They have had a stranglehold on the RTS scene just because of StarCraft alone, because it's really been kind of the last one to have big tournaments and big supporter. I mean, hell, with BlizzCon, right? Having the StarCraft championships there. I mean, we saw it filled out the arena at BlizzCon. I mean, people there still care. But when you publicly announce that you are no longer going to focus your game updates and things like that, it does open the door for, like Anuj said, another developer and another game to come in and steal that player base. And don't be so sure that that player base is going to go right back to StarCraft when they announce StarCraft 3, if they ever do, because they've kind of moved on, right? You've already said, hey, I've lost interest in this relationship, and go. That's it. right? Like I'm here, but I'm not going to give any effort. So now they're going to go look for other games to play. And if something comes up, then the RTS community has moved over to this new genre or new game, whatever. That being said, I feel like RTSs are going to go the way of the arena shooter, where you're going to have that hardcore niche fan base on them, but it's just not going to be what it was. I feel like BRs have killed it.
And so the question is worded, will it ever be an esport, you know? And I think
it will, but it won't be like what it was.
We're not going to have our next rankings and all of a sudden an RTS is going to be S tier, right? Like that's probably not happening anytime soon. I agree with you on that. I think there's room for it, like tier 2, tier 3, like it could kind of fall into that branch. It would be really hard for an RTS to become a tier 1 esport. It's just not a game.
Like I said, if I had to rank the genres and we had arena shooter as a separate genre, I would put them probably right around each other, if not on the same tier.
Who would you put higher if you had to pick?
I mean, maybe RTS, just because, again, StarCraft at least had like a badass world championship and everything at Blizzard because they did have that support. Now, that also being said, and maybe this is just me holding out hope, Blizzard said that they're stopped supporting StarCraft 2 updates. Not they're going to stop supporting StarCraft 2 esports.
Yeah, but I think that was like kind of implied.
I know. Like I said, I'm probably just looking outside,
hoping for
wishful thinking. I just can't imagine they do shit, people. Okay, we were at BlizzCon a year ago, like we said. They still had a section for Heroes of the Storm up. Okay, so I have to assume they're still going to have a StarCraft 2 tournament at BlizzCon every year. But if they're going to still give time for now, Heroes of the Storm was in the basement, literally. In
kind
the
of a cool basement, though.
It was cool. But we just went down there and we were like, oh shit, here's Heroes of the Storm.
Here's Heroes. Here's where they all are.
All right, so there's that. Last question, but certainly not least. Spooky Teddy asks on Discord, what do we believe Overwatch League's biggest issue was or / is? I'll start with this one here, and I'll really kind of, because I kind of thought about this ahead of time. So I'm just going to give my one thing. And this is from someone who's played Overwatch every day for probably like 3 years. And then a year ago, just quit cold turkey. I don't even know if I have it installed. It's just, it died for me instantly. And even from when I played it all the time, and I watched it all the time, and still watch it casually now, my biggest issue with the Overwatch League and Overwatch in general is consistency. It is the least consistent league / esport that I can honestly think of. From the meta changes, the patch changes, the league format, the rosters, everything. Everything about the Overwatch League is inconsistent. And for me, that trickles down to storylines. It's very hard for fans and content creators like ourselves to follow a storyline, right? Like, how are you going to compare teams when in stage 1, it was all about the dive meta, and then you switch it up, and then all of a sudden stage 2 and 3 were 100% shield meta? Like, it's difficult to talk about the teams in that sense when they're literally playing different games throughout the season, right? So again, that's where it's not like the teams adjusted and figured it out, right? It just Blizzard patched it, flipped a switch and said, nope, this meta's changed. Have fun, guys. And it's, to me, the consistency, which trickles down to storylines, which trickles down to interest and content creators' interests and things like that. That's my biggest issue with the league.
Yeah, I mean, man, this is like a loaded question, is it not? Like, there's so many different directions you could go. And I think just one of the simple answers is, I think the game has kind of run its course, right? Like, all games have life cycles, right? They come up, they gain popularity, they hit a peak, and then they eventually start to people lose interest, right? I think with Overwatch, the shocking thing is that happened faster than anybody anticipated. Like, I thought a lot of people saw this as a 10-year type cycle because there was a little bit too much faith invested in Blizzard. Like the name Blizzard. Everyone was like, oh, it's a Blizzard game. Look at World of Warcraft, look at
Yeah.
StarCraft, look at
I mean, we did it on the show, right? We were like, oh, if there's
look at
one person you have to
Diablo,
trust.
yeah, we thought the same thing. I think we have to also remember that Blizzard is not Blizzard. Okay, like Blizzard is Activision and all that nonsense. The game right now, I think its biggest flaw is it's being run. I'm sure a lot of the developers care about it, but the people that are truly making the decisions, like it just seems like they're out of touch with the fan base because we've had negative patch after negative patch. I think that drove the player base down to what it is today, which is so low from its peak. I mean, you can say what you want. The numbers are significantly lower than this game was when it hit its peak. And I think the game has run its course. And I think it's just a dying game at this point. Doesn't mean that it's a bad game. It doesn't mean that there's not followers or interest for it, because there 100% is, and we've seen them and we've met them, and I love their enthusiasm for it. But it's a game that needs more than just an update to fix itself. I think Overwatch 2 has a little bit of a possibility to come in and rejuvenate, and it will rejuvenate the active fan base. I don't know how much it's really going to draw on a new fan base. I think they need to do more than just release the game, whether that's making it free to play or whatever. But I think it's just a game that's run its course. Like, we're at the end of feel like we're heading towards the end of its life cycle. And I don't think there's much they can do to recover. Like, I think at this point is make as much money back as you can. I bet if you asked every owner in a private conversation, like, and they were genuinely being honest, there are very few that would tell you this was a worthwhile investment. Like, or they regret their decision to some extent, or they regret how much they paid. But there's some speck of regret there because of how it's all turned out just a few years into this project, right? Like, we are so new into it, and this was supposed to be like a growing year, and obviously COVID's a part of that. But as a whole, I think we're just looking at a game that's at the end of its life cycle, and it'll be on to the next one eventually.
I still just think it all stems to just how Blizzard patched and balanced the game. I mean, you talk to anyone who used to play it all the time and then stopped playing it, and they'll tell you, it's like, well, yeah, the role queues killed it for me. It's like, oh, they balanced out this meta, or they switched this up around. And it's like, when role queues, when something about not even like the play of the game kills it for you, it's like, that's a bad look, right? And especially, like you said, with the lower player base and everything, it's like when you're waiting in queues for 10 plus minutes, it's like, it's just not going to hold it's not going to hold the casuals' attention, which is what you need to succeed, is the casual. So, like I said, maybe Overwatch 2 pumps it back up a little bit, but it just depends on from everything that we've played, Overwatch 2 is Overwatch. And so it's like they'll really have to just change the way they approach the game.
I think it's got to go free to play.
Well, I mean, that's all. I mean,
go free to play and find a way to make a BR world around it or something to get streamers and all that to hype the game back up. Like, I don't care if you're a purist and you hate that shit. Like, you got to do something to drive the player base back up, and adding a 2 at the end of your game is not going to do that. Like, it's got to be something fresh. And so I want it to succeed. Like, that's the sad part. Like, I feel like I'm talking like a hater, and a lot of the people that we hear on social media that have always despised the game, I never rooted for the game to fail. Like, I did it. I think they led it in this direction, and unfortunately, this is where we're at now.
Yeah.
So we'll just see. I mean, it's a wait and see. It's still up in the air because this year's a write-off, I feel like, for everybody. It was worse on them because of, like, this was such an important year, but it's somewhat of a write-off, and we can see what next year looks like, and then maybe I'll have like a different take on it. But for now, that's just what I see.
Yeah. Well, as we said, Overwatch League handled the whole COVID thing kind of the worst when it comes to like planning. Overwatch League was kind of the worst about it when you kind of compare it to the other esports. So
look at its neighbor in COD, like COD League, right?
Handled it one of the best. So
virtually like 100% different.
So there you have it. All right, so there's all the questions for now. Again, we do this last Thursday of every month. You can ask us anything. Doesn't have to be esports. Can be life related, sports related, whatever. You can ask us anything. What other show will let you do that? No one, I tell you. No one. So go ahead, follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. You can DM us. DMs are always open. Or wherever, right? Discord, it doesn't matter. We'll find the question if you ask it. Let's wrap up here with some e-news quickly. We'll go through it. CSGO, we already talked about it last episode, but it's official now. Nico is on to G2. So they'll play, I believe, Monday is when their group starts for the Blast premiere. So with FaZe playing today, or played earlier today, Olafmeister ended up subbing in for them, who I still think is under contract for FaZe. So that explains it. But he's even said he hasn't played in months. Like, he hasn't touched the game in months, and you wouldn't know it.
No, I mean, he looked really good. He came out hot in the first game on, I think it was, Mirage there, where it went into overtime. But they lose the series 2-1. That's kind of to be expected. I had a buddy asking me if he should bet on them in the morning. Shout out to David. He came to, what was it? One of the COD
CDL
championships
Dallas.
with us, and
yeah,
CDL, like he actually like enjoys betting on esports, even though he doesn't know shit about it. And I was like, yeah, lay off the brakes on FaZe. Like, they've practiced for just a couple of days, but I mean, not the worst start. This is not a long-term solution, though. Like, this is a temporary.
Well, I think, yeah, I don't think you build long-term solutions around Olafmeister anymore.
No.
Legend, TCR Hall of Fame.
Oof. I don't think so. I don't think he was.
I don't think he was. I think we said too early to tell, I guess. I think because he was like, that was like right when he announced he was taking a break again. Vitality made CS history as they did the first ever mid-series swap. So in between maps ended up swapping out of their 6th or their 5th player for their 6th.
Put in Navira, who Scream's younger brother, subbed in for Mistua. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. I always butcher that one. But he actually top fragged on the map for him. They did bench him after that map. They needed him to play B solo on Dust 2. And so he held down B on his own. He
lost the map, but did play well.
Yeah, he did. He looked really good.
Overwatch, Dante ends up re-signing with the Houston Outlaws. In Valorant, Exceed signs with NRG. And as far as the first strike goes, talked a little bit about it with Vansilli. Envy ended up defeating Gen G, and C9, the boy team. What color are they? Blue?
I think they're blue.
Are they blue? Is the boy team blue?
Yeah.
C9 defeated TSM to advance to the finals there. So as Vansilli said, this weekend he will be casting the finals for this leg of the event. So check that out. And we also kind of talked about it in the interview, but they ended up, rolling back that update. So
kind of sucks that they had to do that.
Patches are a mess.
Yeah.
Like, Riot is looking like they're some indie developer. Like, they've never had to update a game before. I don't know what's going on. It's unbelievable, though. Like every patch.
First Strike is their event, and it's like, why would you plan this update around your own event?
You're in the middle of your own event, and
I could see you messing up the FaZe Invitational or something, But
well, I could also see you just adding in a new character and then saying, "Hey, we're gonna add her, but the tournament people don't play as her."
Yeah.
But you're like making like huge agent changes in the middle of your event, and then you roll it back because people were upset. It's like, yeah. All of your,
at least it's good that they rolled it back, though. It needed to be rolled back, so at least that's a positive that they didn't.
All their patches are riddled with bugs. Like, of course, just take your time. Take your time. The rollback.
CEL probably wishes they rolled back some of those patches.
Yeah,
that they released mid tournaments.
The rollback saved you, Riot, from being in Yikes of the Week. So just remember that. In COD Cold War, they've announced the size for the new Call of Duty coming out. The entire game on PC will be 175 gigs unless you download the RTX version, which will be 250 gigs. But they did listen to people, and you can just download the multiplayer, which is still 50 gigs, which is still asinine to me.
It's like insane how big this game is, and it's like only this one. I know it's a them issue because like everybody else makes games too. It's not like you're the only one.
Right.
Like, I have other games to compare this
and
to.
You can't be
Valorant is like 10 gigs, you know?
And you can't be like, well, we want to make it big because it's a lot of optimization. No, not really. You guys are like,
it's like
the
lack
worst.
thereof. That's why it's so big.
Right.
I have to install shaders 400 times in a play session.
Yeah, like you guys are kind of the worst optimized game out there. Oh, as predicted on this show, on this esports outlet, 100 Thieves did end up purchasing the CDL LA spot. They will now be called LA Thieves, formerly Optic, right? Optic LA. So that leaves Hex with still ownership of the Huntsman in Chicago. That's where everyone is still up in the air. I think you're going to get the Chicago Optic or Optic Chicago, whatever they want to go with. But let me tell you what, the league is not letting the Optic brand get out of Counter-Strike.
Call of Duty, but yeah.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, not all that noise last week for nothing. You know, there was all this noise around what was happening, and it didn't sound like it made a ton of sense, but, you know, people are obviously buying into
how
the
much
hype.
can you do in a 5-minute video on YouTube?
Well, look,
Cut
a
some
lot of
people
people
some
bought
slack.
into the noise, and it's
Listen,
like
some
so
people
different.
just
And
read headlines,
the funny-
some people discuss them, you know?
The funny thing is, like, this makes 100 times more sense, right? Like last week's news, when we were hearing it, we talked about it on the show. We're like, well, I mean, if that's happening, okay, but that doesn't seem like Nade and 100 Thieves should not be invested in CDL. If you want to be an esports org and your whole brand is built around Call of Duty, to like not invest into Call of Duty seems really stupid, right? Like It just made zero sense. And so this is what we thought was happening all along. Obviously, we started second guessing ourselves a little bit when you hear the other news and a million people are hopping onto that hype train. But this is what we thought would happen. I'm glad it did, because this makes the most sense. Like, LA Thieves sounds good. It's good to have Nade Shot involved. Optic taking over the Huntsman brand. If that happens, that's a good move, because guess what? The Huntsman branding honestly kind of sucks. Like, it's not.
I believe it was an F tier
cool.
on our tier
like
list.
Yeah, it was. It was like it was rated low for us, and I think the Optic brand would be amazing to have back under Hex, over there in Chicago. So this makes the most sense. I'm excited it's happening.
You have breaking news.
Breaking news. About 2 weeks ago on this show, we designated myself as being the test dummy for this show. That I would go ahead and pick up Cold War and be the one to trial it for us and get back to you and let you know what I thought. Hopefully, if it was good enough, you would invest and join me on this journey. Breaking news. I now am $64 richer than I was.
Oh.
I have decided to return my purchase, Tim.
Good for you.
And you know what? It came down to, honestly, so I would have kept it. I really would have kept it.
Feels good, though, doesn't it?
Well, kind of. It's bittersweet because, like, after talking with all of my friends, nobody was buying it. Other group of guys that we play with, between Corey and all of them, none of them are buying it. You no longer have it. I was like, I'm not going to grind multiplayer solo. Like, that sounds boring as hell. So I was like, look, Zombies is free. Warzone is free. And I'll get my fair share of multiplayer watching the pros play. I only really played multiplayer to level up my guns to go use in Warzone anyway. But if none of my boys are getting it, man, it was like hard to sink in that purchase and be like, am I really going to play this in 2 weeks when it comes out? Especially with some of the other news we have coming up here in E-News. I just didn't think I would dedicate the time to it.
Maybe I'll pick it up on sale. It always goes on sale like around Christmas for $30 anyways. Maybe hop in then. We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. But
I think there's still a good chance I get it at some point. It's not going to be a day one purchase.
And you know what? If listeners want it, then sure. That will also be a game changer. If we have just waves of people who want to play multiplayer, sure. I don't see that being the case, though, because the game sucks. In other FPS news, speaking of sucking, Halo Infinite director and longtime 343 executive Chris Lee has left the project. This Anuj marks the second director for Halo Infinite in 2 years to walk away.
A lot of faith in what they're doing right now, Tim. A lot of blind faith over here. Telling y'all, like, I'm gonna sound like negative Nancy's, dude. That's what we've been all show.
This is
talking
what
about
you want.
Overwatch, talking about Call of Duty, talking about Halo now. Like, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a bad game. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I think it's an overhyped game, and that could, we're just seeing signs that tell you that it's not where it needs to be, Tim.
I think Chris Lee was driving this game into the ground. It wasn't going anywhere under his leadership. I think this is the best thing to happen for Halo since Halo 3. I think
Tim,
this is perfect.
He was an executive. What was he in charge of?
Making the game suck. He was executive of suck, and he was wanting just to do bad things for Halo. He didn't care about the franchise.
God, I hope Halo's good, dude. But I'm telling you,
this is where Halo Infinite.
We see.
This is where they turn it around. This is the stake in the ground. This is where they turn things around.
And this is going to be the best World of Warcraft expansion we've ever seen.
Reinvents the game. In other FPS news, last but not least, we have the Rainbow Six Siege is getting their Faceit server set up for NA. So again, huge for Rainbow Six, who's constantly seeing life pumped into that scene. Despite from what I've heard, people are getting a little unhappy with it from Ubisoft. But nonetheless, Faceit servers are always, I mean, what games have we played where we just think if only there were Faceit servers for it? So good on Rainbow. In League of Legends news, Worlds is this Saturday, and I am happy to announce that Red Bull is sponsoring a noob-friendly stream. So
not hosted by us, but
not hosted by us.
That'll probably be the one who'll be watching.
In fact, no, yeah. So it's a expert teaching noobs about League of Legends. It is not noobs casting it, because then it would be us.
Yeah.
Boy, could you imagine if we casted the Worlds?
Oh god, that would actually be awesome. I think it would probably get at least 1 million views. At least.
Like, what are these guys talking about? It's like, the big boob pirate girl killed the big boob cat girl, and then this little hamster thing is running up the middle lane. I would
doing something.
Yeah, doing something. So there you go. So I'm excited for it. I always like those. Even if you know the game, I would check it out, because normally, like, they're slower, right? Like instead of all the shoutcasting and yelling that you're used to, these guys kind of slow it down. In FGC news, Smash Ultimate Pro Nairo, haven't heard from him in a while. He was accused of molesting Captain Zach, underage sex. Anuj. Well, he top decked the reverse card in Uno and said, "No, hold up. You actually sexually assaulted me." So now he has broke his silence after months and is now suing Captain Zach, saying, No. Remember, you were the one who gave me a fellatio and blackmailed me. So look.
This looks like it's going well. This is going well. We'll see
like the Smash scene was just recovering from this, and then Nero was like, "Nope, gonna pick that scab open." And
we will open this back up once there is some sort of court involvement here, I guess. And
pulled the old switcheroo.
Some closure to this story eventually.
The old switcheroo. But in other news, we did finally hear good news from Blizzard as World of Warcraft Shadowlands will be released November 23rd as of now.
And they'll hold that date. They're not going to push it again. They gave us like the first raid schedule, which is going to be interesting for World First, because they are opening up the raids during the holidays. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. And then we also have pre-patch coming on the 10th. So for those of you that are looking forward to pre-patch and getting to do some of that content. That'll be available on the 10th with the game releasing on the 23rd. And hey, I mean, I'm excited. I got some buddies all teed up and ready to go. And like normal, we'll get in there, we'll level, we'll grind it out, and get some content done. So excited for that to drop.
Good times. Good times. All right, speaking of good times, this was a good time. As episode 284 is done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to, again, friend of the show, Vansilli, for joining us. Definitely a pleasure having you on and to catch up. So we'll have you on again sometime soon, for sure. And thank you to the listener for tuning in. Whether you skipped around or listened to the whole thing, love you all the same. Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring, and join the Discord. Be a part of the conversation. Get your Ask Us Anything questions in for next month. We'll have an esports documentary picked out for you next episode, so we can watch it in a week or so. And yeah, that's it. Thank you again for listening. We'll be back Sunday. Talk some Worlds.
Talk some First Strike. Maybe get into a little Valorant discussion. We'll talk about Nico and G2. So next episode will be a banger. So make sure to tune in.
Excellent. I'm excited. I can't wait. Thank you again. Episode 284. It's over. For Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.